13 states have passed laws decriminalizing marijuana for medical use. But no state is like California, the only one with more than 300 dispensaries, places where people with doctors' recommendations can openly go to buy it. But while organizations like the American College of Physicians are calling for further research into numerous potential medical uses for marijuana, the Food and Drug Administration says it has no accepted medical value. And in the eyes of the federal government, it remains illegal in any form. So how does this all play out in California, long considered ground zero of the medical marijuana movement?
This is the future.
At the pharmacy, a dispensary in Westwood, California, General Manager Bill Leahy says the doors are open.
We don't feel that we have anything to hide or anything to be embarrassed about.
Here, with a doctor's recommendation, you can buy medical marijuana or cannabis in just about any form you like. In gelato, in chocolate bars, in cold drinks, even lollipops.
There are 3 X's on this particular chocolate cake. That means there are 3 dosages of medicine in here.
Now, what would happen if somebody ate this whole, piece of cake? It's got 5 doses of cannabis in it, if they were eating it all at once.
If they ate it all at once, they would be over-medicating, okay? There have been 0 deaths caused by cannabis. You cannot overdose. You may, sleep pretty well that night.
Yeah.
Leahy
says that the pharmacy doesn't make a profit and that it abides by strict state laws, buying from designated growers and selling only to those with a doctor's recommendation. There's a lot of documentation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything has to be completely documented. If there is no documentation or anything is out of line, or if they don't have a California ID that's current, I don't even care if they have it. If it's not current, we don't let them in.
So what's the difference between the stuff you buy on the street and the marijuana or cannabis you buy in here?
Everything we have here is organic. All of our caregivers that supply the cannabis for us have not added any pesticides or added anything to it to change the value of the medicine. What you buy in the street is hit or miss.
You take what you get.
You take what you get.
At a dispensary, customers can pick and choose from a wide variety of high-grade marijuana.
They have the opportunity to open it up and get a sense of the aroma.
Yeah, that almost smells like almost like a tea. According to Americans for Safe Access, there are more than 200,000 people in California with a doctor's recommendation for marijuana.
Every doctor I talked to that I asked about it, any complications in it, they said that's the best thing to do.
In a 2005 interview with Dateline's Stone Phillips, Melissa Etheridge, a breast cancer survivor, talks candidly about using medical marijuana every day during her chemotherapy.
There's the drug that you take for the pain, but that constipates you, so you have to take the constipation drug, but then that actually gives you diarrhea, so you need a little diarrhea drug. Instead of taking 5 or 6 of the prescriptions, I decided to go a natural route and smoke marijuana. I was doing a lot of it at the time for my pain and for my symptoms. And the minute I didn't feel it, I stopped.
Do you worry at all that talking about this from a medicinal standpoint might encourage recreational use?
Do I worry that that will be abused? Yeah, I mean, Vicodin's abused. Everything that brings pain relief is abused. But does that mean because Vicodin is abused, do they keep it away from people? No, they prescribe it. Put the laws on it, prescribe it.
It's an argument that's gaining ground across the country. But in a place like California, where dispensaries advertise in magazines, access to marijuana is easier than ever.
Medical marijuana recommendations to have this as opposed to pharmaceuticals, and that's what Dr. Johnson wants to make sure everyone has access to if they need it.
It's a whole new industry that caters to the very sick and people looking to get high legally.
There's a lot of recreational users who have a license that they got from a doctor, because these doctors that give medical marijuana evaluations, they call it, I don't know if they're turning anybody away.
And now I have a license that says I can smoke pot. No one here has that.
Not in Idaho. But you should.
Comedian and marijuana user Doug Benson stars in Super Jaime, a movie that chronicles his pot smoking for 30 straight days.
I agree that if you feel like it helps you in your life and makes you feel better, whether it's anxiety or depression or, you know, you just like it, I don't see why you shouldn't have access to it.
When it came to defining who should have access to it, Proposition 215, the 1996 ballot initiative that decriminalized medical marijuana in California, purposely left things vague.
It listed approximately 10 conditions, but then it said, or any condition agreed upon by the physician and the patient, where cannabis could be helpful. So that pretty much leaves it between the doctor and the patient, which is where it belongs.
Dr. Alan Frankel practiced internal medicine for 26 years before dedicating 80% of his practice to medical marijuana. In over 2 years, he says, he saw 3,400 patients. The average age, close to 50.
Some of these patients are, you know, CEO, there's not one demographic. I mean, we have all the data. It's from everywhere, every income group, every education level.
They come to him with a wide range of ailments, from cancer and HIV to chronic pain, insomnia, and anxiety.
They come in and sometimes they just can't believe this is really happening and that it's legal, it works. Patients are coming in, oh, I'm a little better. I appreciate it. It's like, this has changed my life.
What most people never realized, he says, is that there are two different strains of medical marijuana, sativa and indica, that work to treat different conditions.
So now with the dispensing system, we're able to get sativas and indicas. We're able to tell people which ones to use at which time.
While Frankel acknowledges there are legal substitutes that do similar things, he says many people prefer pot's predictable side effects to prescription medications.
I think most people agree that, if nothing else, cannabis is extremely safe. So if somebody comes in with some insomnia to try using cannabis before they go get sleeping pills, I think it's completely reasonable.
Frankel says patients don't necessarily need to smoke marijuana. In fact, it's better if they don't.
It's clearly not the ultimate way to use it.
He recommends tinctures that were once available back in the 1800s over the counter.
You'd spray it into your mouth, a few spritzes, and the effect is about 2 hours.
There are also strips to put under your tongue, and capsules as well. Frankel believes this centuries-old medicine will one day become accepted treatment in the future, not only because of its wide-ranging benefits, but also because it keeps health care costs low. But the government view couldn't be more different. They say marijuana is harmful, and the dispensaries that sell it open up a can of worms for law enforcement.
We have seen so many abuses, from dispensaries issuing flyers at high schools, handing out free samples to kids to come and try their products. But these dispensaries are definitely not just dispensing marijuana under medical means.
There are people who have abused the system, whether they're pharmacy operators or patients.
Correct.
Do you want those people run out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is serious business. This is medicine. This is not a game.
Leahy says the pharmacy sells in limited quantities to prevent resale on the streets. And one other thing, dispensaries in California pay taxes. While no exact data exists, last year the State Board of Equalization says dispensaries generated at least $11.4 million in sales tax. The board acknowledges the actual number is probably much higher. But despite many dispensaries complying with state guidelines, buying, selling, cultivating, or being in possession of marijuana for any reason is still a federal crime.
People need to realize that there's no legal means for anyone to obtain marijuana.
The DEA says it doesn't go after patients or doctors, but they do target dispensaries, which they say can be a magnet for crime and illegal drug traffickers.
We need to look at who's supplying these individuals. Where's the marijuana coming from? We're looking at dispensaries who are making huge amounts of money that may be being laundered through different means. And so we look at all those different aspects and determine who's the most egregious of those, and we try to target those individuals first.
How'd you get the real criminals?
Get the heroin dealer in my
But protesters believe the DEA goes after dispensaries who make the most noise.
They take the money, they take the medicine, and they don't actually arrest anybody. So essentially this is harassment.
The U.S. Supreme Court says when the two laws conflict, federal law trumps state law. And the DEA says they'll continue to uphold federal law.
We definitely believe we're having an impact, but because there are so many here in Los Angeles, it is a difficult task.
For Bill Leahy, whose West Hollywood store was raided in 2007, trying to operate a legitimate business in such murky territory is difficult, but worth the risk.
Are you worried each day about the DEA coming in to shut you down?
Every day that we open those doors, we practice civil disobedience. Every day. Does it worry me? Sure.